Hello, my friends. My name is Thad Riley, and this is episode number 236 of the Thadcast. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Every time I say Independence Day, I think of the big speech in the movie Independence Day and all this stuff because, you know, we came together unified as a country in this movie to fight who? Aliens. Aliens. So if you've ever wondered what the path to unify us might be, it's probably going to take an alien attack to bring us all together. So if anybody knows of something coming like that, let's all get together and plan whatever we're going to do. I don't know where Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum are, but they are probably the two people that we need to help lead this adventure. I would go to Jeff Goldblum on anything at this. I'm just kidding. If you don't know who Jeff Goldblum, the actor, is look him up. So I think he does commercials now, no lie. So anywho, I want to talk about America. I think we can talk about America. For the past almost 3 years, I've been engaged in politics on a local level. A little bit as a person on the school board, and you would say school board's not really politics. I'm telling you right now, you vote, you lobby for issues, you deal with money, you deal with residents, all the varying opinions, all kinds of really exciting stuff sometimes, and sometimes like, holy cow, this is overwhelming. It's a very political thing to do, is school board. And I've learned that over the past 2.5 years. Far more political feeling sometimes than it is being the chair of Republicans here in my town, because it is you know, when you're the chair of Republicans, who are you surrounded by? You're surrounded by other Republicans, right? And we're usually on the exact same page. Right now is an interesting time though, because we do have primaries, and we have this election coming up for several different things. And so yesterday we had a parade here in Brentwood, and I went out and I gathered some of my friends who are running for offices, like Melissa Litchfield, Josh Shikella, Matt Mowers, Matt Mayberry, General Don Bulldog. So some really awesome people came and supported Brentwood. Bruce Crocier. Anyway, I struggle sometimes with names, but we all struggle with something, right? So anyway, in this whole process of this episode, I had planned and written this whole big, massive thing about how we could unify our country. And then right before I came down to record it, I scrapped it and just wanted to talk. So if it's okay if we just talk, that would be great. I don't know if we necessarily want to unify as a country. And pause with me here. It doesn't mean that we can't come together and support America. We can't support all of our elected leaders. We can't support our president. And we can't support the good things that are happening in our country today. But what it doesn't mean is that you and I still should stop disagreeing, okay? I think we should continue to disagree and have a robust dialogue and discourse. I think that is part of who we are as a country and why our forefathers set up our country in the ways that they did, so that we could continue to have a robust discourse, that you and I could disagree and nobody has to get shot. It's an amazing place to live, America is. I think it's extremely important that we embrace that more than ever at this time in history, even within our own local parties. For instance, I'm a Republican who believes that Black Lives Matter, and I'm very supportive of Black Lives Matter, the idea, not necessarily every single aspect of the group, Black Lives Matter. There are some things out there that do bring me pause and caution and concern, yet at the same time, their purposes are great, and what they're trying to do in many ways is great. And so we can have you and I can have a robust dialogue on the side. I'm getting a lot of messages about this already. But I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I just want to give you a couple of ideas with politics. First of all, you cannot get anything done politically behind a keyboard. It's never going to happen. You are never going to change anyone's opinion through your posts on social media. Very, very likely you may be able to influence a little bit, but long term, you're not going to have the effect that you want to have by just posting on social media. You have to get on the ground. You have to be active. You have to talk to people face to face. You have to go to community meetings. You have to have a plan, basically, on how you're going to navigate these waters. And you need to go out and execute that plan face to face by running for office, by supporting and going to meetings. Those are the things that you want to do to get involved. And if you believe that your view is important, that's what you should do. The reason that I don't want to unify America on certain issues is because there are certain issues I'm not going to bend on. Because the truth matters. As a follower of Jesus, the truth matters. And one of those issues is abortion. I talk to a lot of my friends who are pro-choice. I love them. They're great, okay? And I love having conversations with them. The problem is they embrace science up until the point of abortion. Here's a great question to ask someone who's pro-choice. When is the last time that you watched a 3D video of an abortion from inside the womb? The entire thing. They're on YouTube. You can barely see them because I think they're removed all the time. But they're out there. You can view of actually what happens during an abortion. People want to hide this. This is just science. This is simply science. If you're pro-choice, I want you to find the video and watch it. I want you to ask yourself during the video, is the baby feeling excruciating pain as it's being murdered? Just ask yourself that. And if you want to vote for candidates who should be informed enough to watch those videos, that's on you and that's your conscience. And America gives you the freedom to have that strange and bizarre of a view. Again, I'm just going with science here. I'm just going with science. So I think the number one thing you need to do if you're going to be involved in politics is to get on the ground. Number two, you need to do your research, your actual research, especially on the issues that you support. Number three, be kind. Be kind and listen to people. If we don't start working on our level of kindness, and yes, there are certain elected officials, like our president sometimes, who need to work on kindness, who need to work on their ability to listen and not vilify people who disagree with them. And I think that's important for us in all areas of life. There are always going to be people who disagree with us, but we want that because this is America. We want a healthy discourse. It helps us to grow and to have better thoughts. It helps us to know more. It makes us do research. All of these things are extremely important for us. So we need to be able to continue this discourse in a polite and kind manner without vilifying people from the other side. You know, we saw this come together this year at the State of the Union, the divisiveness in our country, when the president refused to shake the hand of Speaker Pelosi, and when Speaker Pelosi ripped his speech up in front of the American people. And you and I walked away like, this is it. This is the leader of the Democrats. This is the leader of the Republicans. This is it. This is what we got. And because this is what we got, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard because you and I probably aren't like this. Granted, during the COVID-19 thing, if someone sticks your hand out to shake it, just be like, I can't, I love you, but I can't. Okay, and that's what you should try to do. So now it's a different world. You know, we won't have to worry about handshakes. Maybe they'll do like the elbow thing, right? If you're watching on YouTube, I'm doing the elbow thing. So, you know, maybe they can do the elbow touch, or just a nod is good. Hi, warm greeting without the hug and handshake. But the display from our two top political leaders was tough. We need the president sometimes to be a little bit of a better statesman. And I would say the exact same thing for the leader of the Democrats. But there's been so much intensity and vilification that it doesn't need to happen. It just simply does not need to happen. So if you're a Republican and you've never had a good face-to-face conversation about politics with a friend of yours who's a Democrat, I would encourage you to do that. And if you're a Democrat and you've never had a wonderful, robust face-to-face conversation with a Republican, time to do that. Time to make it happen. Okay? Your politics can't be driven by anxiety. or that can't be the manifestation, I should say, of your politics, right? We're all around these people. They can't handle the discussion and it bubbles over. If you can't do it, don't do it. Get out, get off Facebook, get out of the whole game. If you can't do this without talking over people and yelling and getting so upset, you're out. Take a break. It's not your thing. I can handle those things. I was a manager at Verizon for like a decade. I mean, I've had phones thrown at me. How hard can politics be? No one is going to throw anything at me, especially since I'm usually the biggest guy in the room anyway. But I don't get mad, so it's fine. I do get mad at my kids sometimes. They're so ornery. But anger's not good, right? So Jesus helps us in all these areas. What is important is that you stick and you fight for what you believe in, but you do it on the ground. You do it on the ground and you get engaged. That's what we need in America. People who are engaged, fighting for what they believe in on the ground, and trying to make this place kinder, trying to make this place better. There are issues and things we need to take care of, and I think our career politicians have really damaged our opportunity to do that. I really think they have. I think term limits is the only way that America can step forward. It's unfortunate too, because if you have someone who supports your views and they're great at the job, you want them to stay in office. You want them to keep going. Their experience matters. But I think we've gotten to the point where I think we don't have a choice but to enact term limits. I don't think there's any other choice but to enact them for good. The House is crazy, guys. The House is crazy. The stories that I hear coming out of our House here in New Hampshire are just wackadoodle. And I think that together, if we can move people in and out of office a little bit more effectively, I think we can get a lot more done. It's crazy. It's chaotic. You know, next year I have to make the decision whether or not to run for school board again. If somebody else comes on board in school board, they're going to spend a year trying to figure out what the heck's going on. A year, right? So they're going to be like, so we lose a year. We lose a year of experience if I don't run. And I know that, and I'm feeling that, and we'll figure it out when it's time to figure that stuff out. But I want to encourage you to get involved. It's probably time. If you're listening to this, this is what America needs. We need citizens on the ground getting engaged in the issues that matter most to them. For me, it's abortion. It probably always will be because of science, because God created us each uniquely. And I can't sit by and let something this horrific happen without standing up and saying it's wrong. And the best way that I can put a stop to this is to only get people elected who are pro-life. And that is the Republican Party, not the Democratic Party. As Bernie Sanders says, if you're pro-life, there's no place for you in the Democratic Party. So we welcome you in the Republican Party. We welcome you and all of your views in the Republican Party, at least in my town we do. But if you're a little crazy, if you don't value life and liberty, I don't know what to tell you. You're not, you know. It's tough to be an American if these are the things that you're not for. I think we need to be more for each other too in this country. I think we need to be more for each other on the ground. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, I think we need to embrace the diversity that we have. I don't know if we can complete this episode without talking about Black Lives Matter. I don't know if we can really understand the importance of this conversation of racism right now today if we don't really dig in deep with staying power. We have to. We can't let it go. There have been so many wrongs, and our society has been set up against people of color for so many years. We may not see it, but the research tells us. And again, we get back to the same stats. 1 in 17 young white men will end up in jail. 1 in 3 young black men will end up in jail. We got too many folks in jail, and some of them for charges that are just outlandish. We've got guys inside a prison who have barely done anything, who got busted with marijuana 20 years ago, who are leading Bible studies. Let's get these guys out. Let's have some real reform and real justice of the prison system. And I don't want to go too far down that, but I want you and I to be open to these conversations and not closed off. One sign that you're not doing your research is you're closed off to dialogue. You're closed off to a good discourse. And I think that we need to be open and listen. Even for me, with someone who's pro-choice, I would love for them to sit down and share scientific facts of how this doesn't hurt in physical pain of the baby. I think there's a lot of things that you and I can be open to discussing that maybe we haven't been in the past before. So I think it's important that my white Christian friends today really take a look at Black Lives Matter. You don't have to agree with everything the organization says and does, but I think we can be supportive of it now because of the racism and the problems that we see in our country today. This doesn't mean that you're not against rioting and looting. I mean, who's for that anyway, right? Criminals? That's who's for it. We're not here to support anyone destroying anything. But we're also not here to turn a blind eye to the issues that we face as a country. And the only way that we can address these issues is to dig in deep, in person, face to face, not on social media. We got to be open. We got to have discussions. We got to be willing to take our shots, and we got to be willing to listen to people with a kind-hearted view and with love and respect. Again, we don't have to agree. We don't need to agree. We don't need to unify behind one opinion. That's not who we ever should want to be anyway. We should want to be diverse in our thinking. The beautiful thing about following Jesus is we can be. Galatians 5:1 talks about the freedom that comes from having a relationship with Jesus. And that same freedom, in so many ways, we embrace in our country today. The freedom to choose our different political beliefs up to a certain point. If they rail against God's word, right, then we need to pause and we need to pull back. And we need to catch our breath and we need to say, okay, I'm going to need to make some adjustments because I'm a follower of Jesus before I'm a follower of political ideology. Think about that for a second. I'm a follower of Jesus before I'm a follower of a political ideology. And be willing to throw out many of your views for the sake of Jesus. It's tough. It's tough. Being a follower of Jesus is never going to be something in this life that is going to be a golden path of all easy. It's not. It never will be. But by God's grace, He is doing a new thing in our country today and can bring us together to solve some of our problems in a way that we've never seen it before. But we need real leaders who are willing to do that. And I think we're going to see that in 2020. And I hope that we do. The state of America is unique. We've never been in a crisis like this. We've never had to respond on the ground individually in such a way. You've never been asked to physically do something different, like wear a mask or stay home. The government has not asked this of us before. I think it's time for us to ask ourselves, what do we truly believe? What does it look like to be a follower of Jesus? And what does it look like to manifest that in our life today as an American? I'm excited about both. I'm excited for you and I'm excited for me. And I'm excited for what this country can do to resolve some of the issues that we face and to go forward in love and light. That's how we need to move forward, right? In truth and in love and in light. So that's it. That's it. A very different, more political episode of the Thadcast, episode number 236. And as always, I just want to encourage you to share this. If you can share this with one friend through an email or through a text or on social media is amazing. Also, if you could do reviews are great on the Apple Podcast. Those are really cool too. By the way, I'm an author of a book called God is For You, available on Kindle and on Amazon. I've sold tens of copies of this book, making billions of pennies. No, none of that's true. I've sold a few hundred copies, and so it's out there, and I just like to mention it sometimes. So, happy 4th of July. I hope you enjoy the day with your family and friends in whatever way that looks like for you. And I will talk to you, be back next week. So until next time, may you be blessed.